Ikenna came home later than usual. His clothes were dirty, his shoes were covered in mud, and there were small bruises on his knees. Uchenna, his father, who had been waiting on the porch, was furious, ready to unleash hell on him. In the small village of Igbokuta, nestled between rolling hills and tall palm trees, lived a proud and hardworking man named Uchenna. Uchenna, a widower, was raising his only son, Ikenna, a bright but quiet 14-year-old boy. Uchenna ran a thriving farm, a yam farm, and though he was known as one of the wealthiest men in the village, he was also known for his strict and often harsh parenting style. Uchenna believed discipline was the foundation of success. He had a strict routine for Ikenna: farm work at sunrise, school during the day, and homework in the evening. There was no room for leisure or idleness. The world is not kind to lazy people, Uchenna would say whenever Ikenna dared to ask for free time. One fateful evening, Ikenna came home later than usual. His clothes were dirty, his shoes were covered in mud, and there were small bruises on his knees. Uchenna, who had been waiting on the porch, was furious. "Where have you been, Ikenna?" Uchenna bellowed, his voice echoing in quiet evening. I, I stayed back after school," Ikenna stammered, avoiding his father's fiery gaze. "To do what? Fool around with your friends?" Uchenna shouted. "You are wasting time when you should be helping me on the farm." Before Ikenna could explain, Uchenna grabbed a cane and wiped his son. "Next time, come straight home," Uchenna warned, his voice filled with anger. That night, Ikenna cried himself to sleep. He wanted to tell his father the truth, but fear kept him silent. Over the next few weeks, Uchenna noticed strange changes in Ikenna's behavior. His son often came home late, looking tired and disabled. He ate less, and his once lively eyes seemed dim. When asked, Ikenna would mumble vague excuses about school assignments or helping a teacher. Uchenna grew more frustrated. "This boy is hiding something," he thought to himself. He resolved to catch Ikenna in the act. One evening, Uchenna decided to follow Ikenna after school. Hidden behind a row of mango trees, he watched as his son left the school compound and headed toward the outskirts of the village. He followed silently, his heart pounding with curiosity and anger. Ikenna stopped at an old abandoned house on the edge of the village. Uchenna watched as his son slipped inside. "What is he doing here?" Uchenna muttered. His anger fled. He stormed toward the house, ready to confront his son. As Uchenna pushed open the creaky wooden door, he froze. Inside the dimly lit room were four other children from the village, huddled around a frail old woman lying on a mat. Ikenna knelt beside her, feeding her spoonfuls of porridge. "Papa," Ikenna exclaimed, startled. "What is this?" Uchenna demanded, his voice trembling with confusion. One of the children, a girl named Amara, spoke up. "Sir, we are helping Mama Uduka. She has no family left and she's too sick to care for herself. Ikenna found her weeks ago and asked us to help." Uchenna looked at his son in disbelief. "You've been coming here every evening?" Ikenna nodded. "Yes, Papa. She was starving and our roof was leaking. We patched it up and bring her food every day. I couldn't leave her like that." Uchenna's heart sank. He felt a pang of shame. His son, whom he had scolded and punished, had been doing something noble all along. As Uchenna stood there, grappling with his emotions, Mama Uduka suddenly began to cry. Uchenna, she said weakly, do you remember me? Uchenna looked closely at the woman and gasped. Mama Uduka, you? You were my teacher when I was a boy. Mama Uduka nodded. I taught you everything you know. But when my husband died, my children moved to the city. I was left alone. Life has not been kind to me. Uchenna's guilt deepened. He had been so consumed with his own success that he had forgotten the people who had shaped his life. And now, his young son was teaching him a lesson in compassion and humility. The next morning, Uchenna made a public announcement in the village square. He told everyone about Mama Uduka and how the children had been taking care of her. We have failed as a community, Uchenna said, his voice filled with emotion. We must never abandon our elders or ignore the kindness in our children. The villagers, moved by Uchenna's words, came together to help Mama Uduka. They repaired her house, brought her food, and ensured she was never alone again. From that day on, Uchenna changed. He began listening to Ikenna, allowing him to pursue his interest and spend time with friends. He realized that being a good parent was not just about discipline, but also about understanding and support. Years later, Ikenna grew up to become a doctor, inspired by his desire to help others. At his graduation ceremony, Uchenna stood proudly by his side. I almost lost my son because I refused to listen, Uchenna said. But he taught me that even children can show us the way. The moral of the story is this: listening to our children and supporting them is very, very important. They are not always wrong. Sometimes there could be sense in what they are saying or doing, which we can also learn from. Sometimes they might pay attention to things we might have skipped because of our schedules. Parents should always look at the good side and always look at the brighter side whenever they are dealing with their children, and not to pay attention to the bad sides. Endeavor to listen to your children and allow them talk to you freely and express themselves. You never know what level of kindness, wisdom, and virtue God has endowed them with until you relate with them and listen to them. And also, as adults, let's endeavor to show kindness to other people as well. Let's not forget those who helped us while we were growing up, or our elderly ones, and also our grandparents. Let's not be too far from them. Let's endeavor to take care of them and care for them. Do you think Uchenna did the right thing by following Ikenna's behind secretly, or do you think he should have tried another way? Let me know what you think in the comment section. My name is Blessing David, and I'm the owner of African Folktales by Blessed. Please, if you haven't subscribed, kindly click on the subscription button and turn on the notifications so when I post insightful stories like this, you'll be the first to get them. And if you're a returning subscriber, hi! Thank you so much for listening to my stories. I really appreciate your support, and if you can still hear my voice, it means you watched the story to the very end, and you are the real besties. Thank you so much, and I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye!